Store Atlanta Television Studios in North Atlanta, this is Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613.
Camera one.
All right, welcome to Tuesday's edition of the Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW 613. Najee Wilkins, Craig Sager with us. I'm IJ Rosenberg, and I'm a little tired this morning. I was at Philly last night for the Falcons game, and guys, I'm sure both of you guys were watching it.
Of course.
I mean,
absolutely.
did y'all think that they would march down the field like that?
No. But they played that prevent defense. And
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins such a
It was nothing.
specimen.
I mean,
it was nothing.
It was easy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that was there an incomplete pass? I don't think there was an incomplete.
No,
I mean,
not quite.
everything just worked out perfect. What surprised me, guys, was first of all, Philly comes out, they drive, they go for it on fourth down instead of kicking the field goal early in the game. That's 3 points. Okay, that would have, of course, given you the win, or at least given you the tie. But the other thing, two things happened on that last series that really surprised me. I mean, you're at the 9-yard line?
9-yard line.
I mean, third down and 2, you got to run the ball
And
there.
you get this, IJ, your offensive line was dominating the entire game.
Yeah, and the tush-push was working, so if you don't get it on third down, you go for it on fourth down.
Exactly.
I mean, and then they throw to Barkley, and Hurts threw a perfect ball. But Barkley just missed it.
Yeah, this is
But
crazy.
you don't even, in my opinion, you don't even put him in that situation.
No, there was no
Okay.
need to. And
Yeah.
you want to take 40 more seconds off the clock, too?
But I'll tell you what, guys, and we're a high school show, but that's the biggest win the Falcons have had probably since the NFC Championship win before they lost the Super Bowl game to New England. I mean, you could make a strong point. That's the biggest win since then.
It was massive, and I know you have a lot of memories, just Falcons and Eagles games. There's been some good ones.
Yeah, well, I was up there in 2004 when they played them in the NFC Championship with, which was with Michael Vick, which was a pretty good football game. They usually struggle in Philly, but I'll tell you, the defense kept them in the game. And the Philly coach kept them in the game.
That last interception was amazing.
Yeah, it really was. So we have that photo from last night. This is pretty awesome. Not yet. I want to show it to you when we get back because it's the biggest American flag that I've ever seen. And, I mean, it's just amazing. The guys, if y'all could have seen the tailgates. And they're just, in Atlanta, which is such a transient city, when the Packers come to town or whatever it is, the Eagles or whatever, what's amazing about it is our stadium's full of them. There were no Falcons fans. I mean, there were a few of us, okay? And Philly fans are brutal. And I've been up there, I went up there 31 times for baseball, 31 trips from 1991 to 98. And, I mean, it's a great sports town, but those fans were so upset after the game. We just took off. We took off and hit the subway and got back to the hotel. We'll show that flag in a second. Let's go to the headlines. We've got, of course, our fast break headlines every day. Brookwood Volleyball wins the Rally High tournament. They took first in the varsity power division at Saturday's Rally High tournament at Lake Point. The Broncos went 4-1 on the day, defeating Mount Perrin 25-11, 25-20 in the finals, and Pacelli 25-19, 25-22 in the semifinals. In pool play, Brookwood defeated McIntosh, North Paulding, but they did lose to Sequoia. The Broncos, now 20-6, were represented on the all-tournament team by Rain Williams, Sarah Sanders, and Elisa Feder. Williams had 34 kills, 14 digs, and 4 aces. Sanders had 36 kills, 17 digs, and 4 aces. And Feder had 91 assists, 11 aces, and 31 digs. And I also want to point out that Danielle Burke added 37 digs and 11 assists in the title run. Craig, you got the next one?
Yep. All right, so Walton defeated Wheeler for the 14th straight time and 22nd in the last 23 matchups. This was a big win for Walton, though. They were coming off back-to-back losses, lopsided losses to Roswell and then Buford. Here's a stat from the game I wanted to point out. Caden Gilstrap, 14 of 19 passing, 240 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I think that's a great response after having the 3 pick-sixes against Norcross the previous week. So we'll have Coach Shane Queen on to talk about this matchup later on, but a big win win for Walton, and they seem to have Wheeler's number. All right, headline number 3. Speaking of Cobb County, I thought this was a very interesting result too. River Ridge puts the Clamps on Pope in a 45-3 victory. We've been talking a lot about John Stutzer. He's the FSU baseball commit for Pope that was leading the entire state in receiving yards and receptions. He did not have a single reception in this game. A brilliant job by Coach Mike Collins, who actually used to be Wheeler's coach. And it was a dominant win. They had over 350 yards of offense while stifling Pope, and that came on the heels of their big win over Sprayberry.
And then number 4 is Mill Creek's Evelyn Schultz, and Mill Creek ended up winning. North Gwinnett girls raced the county championship. She had a great effort. All 6 of North Gwinnett runners finished in the top 30 in Saturday's Gwinnett County championships and Conyers. Paving the way for a Bulldog victory. 5 of the head coaches, Chris Carter's runners, placed in top 12 as North Gwinnett top. Second place, Mill Creek. North Gwinnett had 41 points, Mill Creek 63, and then third place was Brookwood with 85. Their coach said, I'm very, very proud of this team. I'm proud of the hard work that he put in, and I always try to tell him that the hard work is what gets you results. The last weekend we raced, it wasn't really what we were hoping for, so I'm extra proud for them for bouncing back. They didn't make any excuses about last week, and they turned it around today. They're all close in ability, close in work ethic, and they all just genuinely like being around each other, which I think is a big deal. So shout out to North Gwinnett and Mill Creek's Evelyn Schutz. And at number 5 was Mount Zion Jonesboro. Big win against Stevenson, 20-14. They started off 0-2 this season. They are now at 500. Mount Zion recorded the biggest upset of the week, according to Computer Maxwell ratings, which they beat a 34-point favorite Stevenson in the Region 5 3A game. And again, they're 2-0 in region play. The Bulldogs likely need to win just one of the remaining 4 region games to earn a playoff berth. Their first since 2020 and second since 2009. So off to a great start and a great rebound for Mount Zion getting a big win.
All right, those are the headlines. Real quickly, we got the picture of Philly. So this is Lincoln Stadium. This is last night.
Wow.
We were sitting. Look at this. Look at the size of that flag.
That's huge.
And what they do is they let season ticket holders come down every week and actually unfold it. I mean, the atmosphere in the stadium was similar to a college atmosphere. It was really, really cool. The other thing, and I wish I would have gotten a picture of it, guys, was they actually fly in the Auburn Eagle. They just started doing this. The Auburn Eagle, okay, which, can fly, does like during
Max
the
probably knows his
national anthem and stuff like that. It's flying around, stuff like that. But they actually fly the War Eagle in, okay, from Auburn. And during the national anthem, I mean, and it was like the jets, overhead at the end. It was amazing. I mean, and this Eagle just did the same thing look, I'm not a huge Auburn fan because I went to Alabama, but at the same time, I will give it, a lot of props for, for the Eagle doing this. But they actually bring it in. That's pretty
cool.
They fly it up there.
Auburn, all the way up to Philly. That's pretty cool, man.
Fly it up to Philly. I'm surprised they didn't kill the Eagle after the game last night. Yeah, it was, guys. I'll tell you, I'm going to go to this in 1 second, but I've never seen as much beer consumed as I did last night. Their tailgate lots for an 8 o'clock game, for an 8:15 kickoff game, opened at 8 a.m. I mean, it's like nobody worked in Philly yesterday. And I'm sure nobody's working today because of they're pretty upset. Anyway, Georgia High School Football Daily Roundup. Of course, there are friends and partners in this. And if you would have read it this morning, Player of the Week, Trey Smith from Roswell, had 350 total yards, 5 touchdowns. Quarterback, is he a senior?
He is a junior,
He's a
2026.
junior.
He actually made
Where is he for the recruiting? I mean,
it's low right now, but he's starting to build. If you remember, he had a pretty good showing at the Corky Kell 707 Invitational. He also made our top performance from yesterday on Scortio.
Yeah.
he's been doing his
I
thing.
mean, heck of a player. And I'll tell you what, I know y'all talked probably a little bit about Roswell yesterday, but I'll tell you, they just continue to do well, Craig.
Yeah.
They really do.
I picked him in this matchup. They also have Saquon Smith, who is just a versatile playmaker. He torched Walton, so they're starting to get that firepower we saw last year.
Yeah. Offensive line of the week is Chattooga. They blocked for the state's first 1,000-yard rusher. Zayden Cook, good player.
Yeah, pretty good player. He's kind of that guy that always be able to turn out good yardage for you. Gets big gains when it's only like 2 or 3 yards there. Really good player for them, and they have a really strong offensive line.
Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns this last week. I did the roundup on this game. He had a teammate that actually led the way. So despite pacing the entire state right now, they're starting to really load up. So them winning as a team offensive line of the week is well deserved, and Zayden was not the only guy that went off.
2 minutes.
And 4 questions with North Cobb Christian coach Matt Jones. His team won a 6 overtime. That was crazy. Had to be the craziest game Friday night. 6 overtime game versus Ringgold, 41-39. They asked him about the GHSA's new overtime procedures, also about the public-private split in the playoffs. Ringgold, of course, is public, while North Cobb Christian is private.
Really quick, I did want to shout out a couple players from this win. Teddy Jawar was 28 of 40, 274 yards, and he had 4 touchdowns. And then Spears Martin on defense, 14 tackles, 3 tackles for loss.
Yeah, no, that's good. Do we have our question this week?
Yes.
Are y'all going to show it to me? Because it's not on my script. So Monday's question was Cherokee Bluff coach Tommy Jones got his 100th victory when his team defeated Banks County 42-0 last week. Jones has more than 25 wins at 3 schools. What schools are they? Lumpkin County, Decula, and Cherokee Bluffs. Done well. Done very well. And then, of course,
guessed that one right, and he was saying that when Cherokee Bluff was opening as a school, Tommy Jones went there, and he would be a sub at Flowery Branch while he was waiting to start that program.
And then, of course, we got the question for today, correct? And that is, what Georgia high school had the highest enrollment numbers during the GHSA's most recent reclassification? Guys, y'all want to guess?
I'm going to go Buford.
I'm going to go Mill Creek.
20
I'm going to go
seconds.
Collins Hill.
Okay.
Mill Creek lost some kids. So, anyway.
15 seconds.
I need some sleep. Anyway, all right, Georgia High School Sports Daily brought to you by IBEW Chapter 613. We are going to be right back. We've got a great volleyball
3,
report for
2,
you.
1.
The Georgia Sheet Metal JETC equips apprentices with the knowledge and skills required to start a rewarding career in the sheet metal industry with programs in HVAC, industrial welding, and testing, adjusting,
Brooklyn?
Training is 100% free and allows apprentices to earn as they learn. Journeymen graduate with no student debt and have the potential to earn more than most college graduates. Visit our website to learn more about this opportunity at careersinsheetmetal.com.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are seeking more diversity. People wherever we go that we feel like we are faster rather than any other organization.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
Well, you know how to do this? Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skill trade is a well-trained career pro, not part-time. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
30 seconds.
Great teams are committed, focused on the details, and work hard to be their best. From practice to games, right down to their gear. Feeling is an incredible part of the game that allows your athletes to showcase their athletic abilities. Sports Tech is committed to bringing your team innovative sports services with unparalleled performance. We bring a vision. Our team brings it to life. Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career.
Then back.
All right, welcome everybody back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily, brought to you, powered by IBEW Chapter 613. Guys, one other thing from last night in Philly I wanted to tell you about. I took the time to see the ESPN, they have the setup before the game, which they put in the tailgate lot, which was pretty incredible. Okay, so they have that crew. And then, of course, they have like a whole setup inside the stadium. It's amazing what ESPN does. and it gave me some great ideas for some things that we need to do.
Love
but
it.
the amount of people that ESPN has there working outside on this whole setup and the tailgate and this whole stage and everything. And then, of course, they have on the sideline, they do that pregame, and then they push everything back, okay, as far as they can to get it off the sideline. And then you see them pulling it back out for halftime. And remember, NFL halftimes aren't like high school or college halftimes. I mean, NFL halftimes are quick.
Yep.
And they go pretty quick. But I'll tell you, it's really impressive what they do. It's the first time that I've actually seen a Monday night game outside of Atlanta, and to see these setups that ESPN does. But very impressive. All right, let's go to volleyball, Craig. We're going to start with the rankings in 6A. And you can talk about them. We've got Alpharetta ranked number 1, North Forsyth, Walton, North Cobb, Norcross. And then the bottom 5 are Marietta, Buford, Brookwood, West Forsyth, and Harrison.
All right, so no new teams this week, but you see Walton is hanging on to that number 3 spot. They're an interesting team. They have the new coach with Erica Ford this year, but they had a big win this last week over North Cobb. They lost to North Cobb in the championship last year. That was in 7A, and they completed the sweep, a big win, so they've beaten them twice. They'll probably get that number 1 seed in the playoffs. But that's the same thing that happened last year, too. They swept North Cobb, and then once they got to the finals, North Cobb showed up. But there's some big matchups. Norcross, they moved up in the polls this week. They have won 5 straight. They're 19-3, having one of their better seasons. Buford, they're a team that has won probably about 4 state titles, never in the highest classification. So we'll see how they stack up. And then West Forsyth's interesting also. They are one of just 3 teams that has taken a set against Alpharetta this year, which is the premier program in Georgia right now, ranked number 14 nationally, and they have not lost. And
All right,
there's actually one big matchup tonight. That's going to be the North Forsyth and Alpharetta. That's a number 1 versus number 2. They have not played this season. They did play twice last year, but this is really going to tell us, can Alpharetta handle the pressure? I think they should be able to. And they have a player, Abigail Lee. She is the middle hitter. And what was so impressive about her, when you watch volleyball, you want to set up the outside hitters, but they would have her as almost a pitcher with like a variety of different pitches. She can hit it really hard, but also see the court. And if you're having all the success on the outside, she's tall enough to where she can just find the sweet spot. And that's how she was able to take down Pope last year in the
Where
state
is that
championship.
match? Is that at Alpharetta?
They'll be at Alpharetta.
I mean, does home court advantage mean anything in volleyball?
Probably not too much, because they play in so many tournaments and back-to-backs. But it is a rivalry matchup, and North Forsyth, I mean, they only have 3 losses this season. They're on a pretty good roll, and West Forsyth was able to get a set on Alpharetta recently.
All right, let's go down to 5A, where River Ridge is number 1. We got River Ridge, Woodward Academy, Milton, Pope, and Sequoia. And then the lower rung is McIntosh, Loganville, Woodstock, Jackson County, and Shamley's still hanging on.
Yes, they are. And then at the top, River Ridge, they are 22-4. Their only in-state losses were to Norcross, a 6A school, and then they actually lost to Milton, which is the team that I'm really looking at in 5A. Can they make noise? This was a team that was 500 last year in 7A. We know Milton's no longer in the highest classification. They've got some pretty big wins, so Milton's a sleeper for sure. And then Pope dropped down this week in the poll. They had a loss to Woodward Academy that you saw move up to number 2. Woodward has just 1 loss on the season.
All right, let's go down to 4A, where Pace Academy's on top, with Marist behind them. A lot of the really good private schools in this ranking. So like I said, you got Pace, Marist, Kell, BT, St. Pius, and then Cartersville, Elka, which is, of course, Eagles Lane and Christian, Midtown, which used to be Grady High School, Westminster, and East Forsyth.
Real quick, Craig, I know Kell Volleyball was really good last year. What's their chance to potentially contend with those top 2 teams, Pace Academy and Marist?
I think it's really good. So Kell started the season, they were 11-9. They've won 8 straight and just had a big win over Blessed Trinity. They are starting to play very well right now. And then Marist is on fire. Pace is probably the team to beat, the defending champs in 3A, but the team, I have my old poll right here, but Elka is the only team that has beaten Woodward Academy this year. They look very dangerous. And then Cartersville made a huge jump this week up to number 6. And then East Forsyth's the new team in the poll. I think they're all well deserving. But I certainly think Cal, they made it, I believe, to the quarterfinals last year. And I think they definitely have a chance to surpass that.
Hey, Craig, real quick, Midtown. We typically don't see a lot of city schools in the rankings for volleyball.
Yep, last year in 5A, they made a huge run. It was the teams that I said before the playoffs were going to be dangerous for Dalton, Cal, and Midtown. GAC was still in that classification also, but Midtown, I think, was the team that ended up knocking out Cal in the playoffs.
All right, let's go down to 3A. We've got Jefferson, Richmond Academy, Chestatee, Heritage, Catoosa, Cherokee Bluff, Sandy Creek, White County, Oconee County, Lafayette, and Whitewater.
So Chestatee is the team I want to highlight. They are 24-5 now. They have won 15 straight. So that's one of the best win streaks going on. And then Jefferson at the top, they were 20-1. They've lost 2 straight, but that loss came to Morgan County, which is our Class 2A number 1 team. So Jefferson, their only losses are to Loganville and Morgan County.
All right, and speaking of Morgan County, we go down to 2A. Morgan County's on top with Pierce County behind them, Ringgold, Columbus, Coahula Creek, Davison Arts, Hart County, Union County, Appleton County, and Miller Grove.
Yep, Morgan County, I think they are the team to beat. Pierce County just had a huge win. I forgot who they play tonight. They've got a top 10 matchup. Oh, Pierce County plays Lowndes tonight, so that'll be a big test for them. A 6A school, a nice South Georgia matchup. And then Hart County is the team where if people saw their record, they say, Craig, what are you doing ranking them? I think they're probably like 6 and 17 right now. That's how brutal their schedule's been. But Hart County made a huge run last year. And I think once they get to the playoffs, because they haven't played the region games, I think they will be able to have that success. But that's kind of the one team where I'm putting the history of the program, past success, and the difficulty of the schedule pretty high up there because they are well below 500.
All right, let's go to Class A. That's Gordon Lee, Armucci, Elite Scholars Academy, Model, Lake Oconee Academy, Fannin County, Bremen, Chattooga, Heard County, and Banks County.
Gordon Lee, I think they are a heavy favorite right now. They have definitely set themselves apart. It's a much different looking Class A this year with a lot of the teams that moved up or moved down, and no longer with the private. But Elite Scholars Academy, don't count them out. They've been in the state finals before. They're that team out of Jonesboro, and they've had some big wins. They've played all the top programs.
All right, and then we go to Class A through 3A private, Hebron Christian, Mount Pisgah, GAC, Greater Atlanta Christian, Lovett, Trinity Christian, Holy Innocents, Mount Perrin, St. Vincent's, Savannah Christian, and then at number 10, Wesleyan.
And real quick, GAC is another pretty good program I've heard a lot about as far as with volleyball. How are they kind of performing this year, Craig? What's kind of your chances for them to contend?
Rock solid. I just think Hebron's that good. They are the clear favorite right now. They haven't lost within the state. They've actually lost 5 straight, but all out-of-state matchups, so I didn't knock them down on that. But in terms of the rest of private, Mount Pisgah has a pretty big matchup tonight against Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon's not ranked, but that will be highly competitive.
All right, coming up, we've got Shane Queen. Of course, we have North Cobb on this week against Walton, which will be a big game. North Cobb right now 5-0. We'll talk to their head coach in a couple of minutes.
1. It's yours, Peachtree. Clear for 3 minutes. Segments, when I put graphics up on the wall, the cameras might switch. So you're used to looking here for a 3-shot, but we moved to there because we needed a wide shot with the, we'll just let you know. So now we have Shane, and we'll bring in his audio real fast so we can see if you guys can hear him. Hey, Coach Queen, can you hear us? Coach Queen, can you hear us? Coach.
Coach, can you hear us?
Coach, can you hear us?
One,
Coach
two.
Queen.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Coach. It's IJ. How you doing?
Doing great.
Congratulations on your start.
Thank you, sir.
So, Coach, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's him.
Are we're good, Ashley, on him?
Yep.
Hey, Ashley,
Yeah.
I heard that comment. I said I heard that comment. I'll tell you later. It was funny, though.
90 seconds to billboard.
One minute.
60 seconds to billboard. Seconds.
30 seconds.
Got to figure out. I think we need to redo their lower thirds because Shane's is a little bigger. I think maybe I did
15 seconds.
15 to billboard. I think I did IJ's Craig's and I was using them, and then I had Laura.
10, 9,
9 to billboard. 8, 7 to billboard. 6, 5, 4 to billboard. 3, 2, 1.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Transform your future today.
5.
And by Smart Local 85.
Camera 1.
Sheet metal is a smart move.
And we're back on camera 1.
All right, IJ Rosenberg here, Georgia High School Sports Daily on Peachtree Sports Network. A lot of ways that you can watch us. Of course, you can watch us on Peachtree Sports Networks, on Comcast, on all the cable channels. We're also over the air 17.2, Atlanta News First app. You can also watch us on Zine, which is the CBS new portal that they have, which is a really good place to go see us. You can also watch former shows or previous shows that we've had, and also the National Federation High School Network. And you can also get Peachtree Sports Network, PSN, on YouTube TV. Want to bring in Coach Shane Queen from North Cobb. Coach, how you doing? Real quick, Coach, just wanted to bring up some numbers for you. 170 and 90 as a coach, as a head coach in Georgia. Started your first head job was back in 2000 at South Cobb. You've been at North Cobb since 2006. This year you've gotten off to a great 5-0 start. Ranked number 9 in the Score Atlanta poll. You've had some great teams there, Coach. Where's this one stack up?
Well, I like our leadership. Our guys are working hard. We didn't have the season that we expected last year with only 7 wins. That was a down year for us. So our guys had a great offseason. We just talked about all season changing the mindset and get back to work and not taking things for granted. And our guys have accepted the challenge, and they've off to a great start. They're taking the coaching very well. They're working hard in the weight room every day, and they're doing a great job in the classroom as well.
Coach, I want to ask you about your senior quarterback, Nick Grimstead. He's had a breakout year. I know he was really good for you last year, Coach, but it seems like he's taking that next step forward. What have you seen in terms of him, in terms of his progression from maybe last year compared to now?
Well, I think the more you play, obviously the more reps you play. And last year we played the Westlakes, Buford, Milton. You're playing SEC top players every week. The game starts to slow down for you a little bit. And I think he's not trying to press and not just being himself. Of course, we had Malachi Singleton a few years ago. He went down in a game against Buford, and Nick stepped in and went 8-1 the rest of the season. So he's played in a lot of big games at North Cobb, and that's why we play those games to get ready for the playoffs. And he's playing his best football to date. He's had a great year so far.
And then, Coach, I want to ask you about the matchup last week against North Paul. Then you guys come out with the win. You scored on your first 4 possessions. You led 28-12 at halftime. How has this offense been able to click so well, Coach, and be able to score points in bunches?
Well, our offensive line is one of the best we've had since I've been here. Very stellar group, led by Brandon Anderson, Alex Kalev, Jackson Oliver's a newcomer, Josh Dahan, and then Isaac Sykes-Rasby. Coach Ingram and Coach O'Buck has done a great job preparing those guys. And we've been able to run the football. We've got 3 tailbacks that's rushed for, averaging over 6 yards a carry. And what that has done is made people stack the box and try to stop a run. And Nick can run it as well. And we've been able to take shots down the field. Still, Ingram's been a big culprit in that, being able to stretch the field because guys roll down in the box and try to stop the run. So, again, they're scoring points right now, but we know we've got to take what the defense gives us. And we can't turn the ball over. And we've done a pretty good job of taking care of the football so far this year. So that'll be, extra important this week against a great Walton team.
We're talking to longtime North Cobb coach Shane Queen on Georgia High School Sports Daily. And, Coach, back in 2012, you took North Cobb to the semifinals. You've won a lot of region championships. And I think, you're an example of how difficult the highest classification is in Georgia because, you've got the Gwinnett teams, you have the teams down south. Obviously this year you've got some new teams, Douglas County, Beaufort, and some other teams. But it is hard, isn't it, Coach? I mean, you've been coaching a long time. You've won a lot of region championships. Like I said, you've been to the semifinals, you've been to the quarterfinals. What do you think it'll take for North Cobb to sort of take that next step?
Well, I'll be the first to say I think we should have played for a couple. You mentioned 2012. We go over to Lovejoy, and they had a young man that went to Tennessee, Kamar. He's playing for the Saints right now. We turned the ball over. Actually, Lovejoy he played in the championship for Norcross, but we had a chance to play them the next week, and we turned the ball over 6 times that night. We led the state in scoring that year, and we turned the ball over 6 times and still scored 42 points, but you can't win football games like that. A couple years ago, we played Lowndes, and they never crossed the 50 till the last drive, but we fumbled 2 punts inside the red zone. Then we played Roswell a couple of years ago, and the young man that passed away, the quarterback, we couldn't get off the field with him. It was like an angel was on his shoulder. So we've lost some big-time games, and I've told our kids that we've got to do the little things right. And, and I'll be the first to tell you that I haven't done a great job, obviously, of having those teams prepared. I'm not going to shy away from that because we should have played for probably a couple state championships. But at the same time, I've told our kids that usually when we lose games, and you guys saw our game last year against Walton, we were up 21-0 and we fumbled 3 straight drives and they get back in the game. We go down to score to win the game and we have a holding penalty. We go back down the field and attempt a field goal to win the game, and we miss the field goal. So as good as Walton was last year, probably the best team they've had there, one of the best teams they've ever had, it was to our demise. It was our self-inflicted wounds that took us out of the game. Hats off to them. They took the plays and ran with it and made plays when they had to when we made mistakes. But we've got to take care of us. I worry more about us taking care of the football, us not getting penalties than our opponents. Because we've played the big teams. We've beaten Beaufort. We've beaten Westlake. We've never lost to Milton. So our kids know how to play in big games. We get to the playoffs, we've got to be playing our best football. It's not any excuse, but last year we went to the playoffs and we had beaten Collins Hill in the preseason matchup in a scrimmage game. We had 8 starters out in the playoff game because we play a brutal schedule. But my thing is, I don't think you can win one if you don't play those teams early on. So that's our goal, and that's why we have the matchups we have early on. The same thing with the teams like Walton and Milton and Beaufort, all the teams in the state that you want to get to their level. I think you've got to play those type games.
Certainly. And Coach Queen, this matchup against Walton, you guys had the big win over North Paulton to open the region. When we talk to the Walton camp, the goal is to win the region, win the opener, etc. So we know that's kind of code for beat North Cobb. So talk about that rivalry with Walton and how important it is to come out and get the victory in this matchup.
Well, I think both teams bring out the best in each other as far as they know that I'll be honest with you, we lost for the first time to them in the last 5 seasons last year, and it was like they won the state championship. They knew that how big that was because even some of the fans go, man, we finally beat y'all. But I felt like again we beat ourselves. But it goes through one of those two teams, usually the region championship, and we've had this game circled on our calendar for 362 days. But who's counting? It's 3 days away, but it's a big game. I mean, they do a great job. You know, they've been to the state championship game a couple times, and they're the standard in our region. And we've got to win the region. One of these two teams have got to play well Friday night to get that win. And we know it's a big challenge. It always is. Coach Bruner does a great job. He's always got his guys prepared, and our players and their players know how big this game is Friday night.
Well, Coach, please say hello to your son, Tyler. He played for you as a quarterback for you from 2011 to 2014. Always been a big fan of his and yourself. And we will see you Friday night.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having us, and go Warriors.
All right, Coach. We will be right back.
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? And back in the heat of the battle? Will you still train like a champion in pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrician. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
The Mechanical Trades Institute is an opportunity towards personal financial freedom through hands-on and rewarding work. Our school is completely free and gives apprentices the knowledge and skills required to gain access to a lifelong career path. Apprentices learn pipe fitting, plumbing, mechanical service, and welding. They earn money as they learn and graduate with no student debt. Start a career with the Mechanical Trades Institute and change your financial future.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get Cinnamons.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman will play 5. When you turn out, you could be hitting 6 figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money?
7 to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're live.
All right, we are back for our fourth segment on the Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW 613. We're going to go to our Mr. Georgia football watch list. Of course, we've got our event coming up in December where the first Mr. and Mrs. Georgia will be crowned. It'll be down at the Teamsters on December 8th. We'll have a lot more information, and that will be open to the public. We'll have tickets. People will be able to go. That will not only be the only awards that we do. We'll be doing a lot of awards, but those will be our, quote, 2 Heisman trophies. So I'm going to turn to you guys, and let's talk about our watch list this week.
All right, well, I will take it over. I will talk about the first 5 and then throw it on to Craig. But Tay Harris has been having a great start to the season so far. He had 86 yards, a touchdown on just 4 carries, and he scored on the first play of the game. Looked like a blur, absolutely outran the defense. Good straight line speed, and scored a touchdown. He also recorded 6 tackles, and he had 2 receptions for 49 yards and a touchdown. He has been balling out. The next one is going to be Milton receiver, and that is going to be C.J. Wiley. He's been doing his thing. He had a big 93-yard reception in the game against Blessed Trinity in their win. Finished with 4 catches for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns. One of his best games this season for the Milton Eagles, who has been run the ball a lot. And then next, another guy that's been on this list a lot, Travis Smith Jr. of Westlake, had another big game, had 126 yards receiving off 7 receptions with 3 touchdowns. He also took the snap out of the Wildcat and rushed in for a touchdown. Just an all-around dynamic receiver. We seen this 50-50 goal ball a couple of weeks ago. on Peachtree Sports Network when they faced against Gainesville. And then next is Valdosta quarterback Todd Robinson. He was 20 of 27 for 220 yards and 3 touchdowns, rushed for 91 yards and 14 carries. And you know what, Craig? He's had 17 touchdowns in just 5 games this season. Talk about getting it done. He is getting it done. And then last but not least, guys, is going to be Milton quarterback Luke Nickel, who also had a pretty strong showing for the Eagles. He was 15 of 25 for 274 yards, and he had 3 touchdowns. Also another stellar game for him. So the list is heating up, and what's crazy is Craig is about to go. We got some new names also on the list that really had great performances.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to point out, too. So with this watch list, we have some familiar faces, but 3 new names this week that I thought have put themselves in this conversation. And the first guy is going to be Caden McGatha, a quarterback from Pierce County. Not only is he a quarterback that's taking like 30 carries a game, the guy plays free safety also. It's pretty incredible. We saw what he did in that state championship win over Rockmart, where he had over 50 carries in that triple overtime win, or I think it was triple overtime, not even been more than that. But what an absolute incredible player. They won 48-7 against New Hampstead. They're undefeated, number 1 in Class 2A right now. He had 204 yards and touchdown on 31 carries. He also threw a touchdown pass to 5 different receivers. He was 9 of 11 passing for 180 yards. They outgained New Hampstead 503-88. So what a performance by Caden McGath. I think he's earned his spot on the list. Next up, though, Carrollton quarterback Juju Lewis. Got to give him a shout out for that big win over Gainesville. He's getting it done. His completion percentage this year is scary. He's over 80% on the year. I think it's still just 1 interception in the opener. And in this most recent contest, he was 15 of 19, 151 yards and 2 touchdowns, both to Ryan Mosley, who has really started to shine.
Craig, I wasn't here yesterday, so I know y'all probably talked about the Carrollton victory over Gainesville. This is a much better Carrollton team than last year, would you say?
Yeah, they're loaded, and the efficiency coming from that offense, it is pretty incredible.
They're complete. When you can add, not to interrupt you, Craig, but when you can add 2 transfers of the likes of Dorian Barney, who's an Alabama commit, and then you add Zealous Hicks, who's now a Texas commit, and you have that on your back end, you feel pretty good. The offense has always been good, but when you add those kind of players, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
That's right. Like last year, Caleb Odom, he could take the top off, he could break tackles, but this year it's like Juju's just comfortable back there. He'll go 16 of 19, 15 of 18. He's just been on point, hit a 6-touchdown game earlier this season, and also rushed for his first ever touchdown this year. All right, so our next guy, he's new to the list also, and he's a player to watch. North Gwinnett running back Tommy Lafayette had by far his best game since joining the Bulldogs, transferring over from Lambert. He had 192 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns on 32 carries in North Gwinnett's win over Brookwood. That is a lot of action for Tommy Lafayette, a huge performance. See if those carries continue to stay high in that range. Then Houston County quarterback Antoine Hill Jr., Hill was 21 of 27 passing for 179 yards and 3 touchdowns in a dominant 42-19 win over Tift County. And then also new to the list, Zoe Smalls from Savannah Christian. They've been blowing everyone out, so it's hard to see how much his numbers could really be. But, man, these last couple weeks, he scored in every game so far, and he had 234 yards and touchdown on 26 carries in their big win over Fellowship Christian.
Before IJ goes, I do want to point this out. I've been getting a lot of DMs from players. Hey, man, what's going on with the watch list? Guys, remember, we do this every single week on Tuesday. So if you keep balling, as Craig alluded to, 3 new players on the list. We will have your name on the list. We will cut down the list eventually. So keep balling. If you're on this list and you're consistently on this list, you have likely a good chance of being a finalist. So keep balling out. We see you guys.
All right, so if we had to pick it at the Mr. Georgia today, who'd be 1, 2, and 3, guys?
I'm going to be honest with you, IJ. 1, for me, is going to be Tay Harris. I love the way he's performing. He's been on this list every single week, and he's doing it on both sides of the ball. 2, I would have to go Travis Smith Jr. I mean, he's been incredible. I know the record might not be what everybody wants, but he has been impacting them a lot offensively. And then I think 3, for me, I would go Ty Robinson. What he's been able to do on the football field for Valdosta, one of the best teams in South Georgia. I mean, I think you have to put him on the list as well. That would be my top 3 right now if we had to pick.
Craig, what do you think?
That's tough. Well, Tay Harris, real quick, I want people to understand how good he is. He is Cedar Town's KJ Bolden. That's what his role is. He does everything. He does the kickoff returns. He's playing in the secondary, and then he's going in on offense. He's not just playing running back. He's catching passes too. So he is truly impacting the game. We saw him in the Georgia League Classic, what he's able to do. Explosive player. So I think he is definitely probably the most exciting athlete we have that's just completely versatile. And he's going to be the best guy on the field every time he shows up. I think my number one right now, based on just the sheer numbers, I think you'd have to put Juju in that conversation because he is completing over 80% of his passes. He's averaging about 4 touchdowns a game, and if Carrollton ends up running the table, winning it all, I think it's going to be hard to argue against that efficiency. Obviously, he's got a lot of weapons too, but he's getting them all involved. And then Caden McGatha, I am so impressed with this most recent win. His numbers are truly incredible. He has the state championship last year, and if he does it 2 years in a row as a senior, that is a proud program. We saw Stetson Bennett come out of it as well. I think he is going to be a true legend for Pierce County.
Well, girls' flag's starting out, so we'll have a watch list for them as soon as they get going. And I think the interesting thing about what we're going to be doing is we'll do it similar. We're going to be doing this similar to the way we do the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame, Sports Football Hall of Fame. And that is, we'll have a core group that, we'll break down. We'll have a good list of players. And then the last couple of weeks, we'll just keep voting, okay? And then eventually we'll have that Mr. Georgia. But it's going to be tough. I mean, there's just so many. I mean, we talked about the players. Just continue to talk about these great players. North Gwinnett, Tommy Lafayette, breaks in there. This was first week for him.
First week, yep.
And you talked about the 2 Carrollton players, one going to Bama and one going to Texas. It's going to be extremely tough. I think it's going to be tougher than picking the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, it definitely is because, like you said, so many players, and it fluctuates each week because you don't know what the result's going to be. But if you're consistent, your chances are likely higher.
Yeah, and I think that we've got to look at more than just the quarterbacks and the running backs. It's hard when you're looking at linemen to grade them, and defensive players is a little bit easy with tackles and tackles for loss and interceptions and different things like that. But it's going to be, I think, a very close race. And just, Craig, I think it's going to be, you are the one that sort of puts together the way that we do the ballot for the Hall of Fame. And, you're going to have to do something similar here. And it's
voting
difficult.
a process for sure.
Real quick, Aj, before we go, can you tell the people in the audience, because players ask me all the time, about how many people roughly you think will be on the board to do the voting?
I think close to 30. Okay. We've started to put together a list of athletic directors and head coaches and some other people, even some of the people that we have on the Georgia High School Football, Hall of Fame board. So it'll be very similar to that, and we'll talk more and more about that as we go.
Sure.
All right, coming up, we've got the lap, which is always a fun segment. Don't forget about our our North Cobb at Walton game this week. That'll be on PSN Friday night at 8 p.m.
Till set.
What?
They want me to lead it. So
You want to lead this in?
Yeah.
You want to lead this in?
10 seconds.
Yeah.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we are.
Welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. I'm Najee Wilkes along with IJ Rosenberg and Craig Sager. We have a special surprise for IJ. If you guys did not know, it is his birthday. So before we get to segment 5, we have a special surprise.
Hey, Pooper.
Miss Charlotte is here for him. How you doing? So IJ,
So this is this is a great birthday present. Of course, I didn't get a chance to see her in Philly last week, but hey, sweetie, how you doing? This is Charlotte. She's going to be the next. We don't know what sport yet. Her dad wants her to play hockey.
No,
Can you
track
say
and
hello?
field? I know Ashley played track and field.
Well, she might be a pole vaulter.
Okay.
We got to get her off the ground. We got to get the stomach down a little bit. But she's walking now, so we're going to start workouts this week. But can you say hey?
They were going to change the segment up.
Well, IJ, you're off the hook this segment. So, one, we want to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
And then just talk a little bit about the show, Score Atlanta, just what it's meant to you just to be able to cover sports in the Atlanta area.
You know, it's been a lot of fun. You know, I go all the way back to 1985 when I started at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and was there for 15 years and started this company. I guess it's been 21 years. I mean, Craig, you've been here a good part of them. But Score's meant a lot. I mean, it's you know, it's a company that we just totally built from scratch. I mean, we did a weekly sports paper back then that was like similar to what Creative Loafing. It was a weekly paper that was at all the sports bars and different things like that. And we just, you know, we just built it. And, you know, today, if you look at all the different things we do, I mean, high school is a huge part of our business, isn't it? And, but at the same time, you know, we do a tremendous amount of work. Like we've got a big surprise for everybody if you come or are watching the Chiefs game Sunday night, as Score Atlanta has done at Mercedes-Benz. I can't let it out because it is a surprise. But we do, you know, just a tremendous amount of printing and mini construction and, you know, just getting into all these events like Corky Kell and the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. You clapping? You clapping? Huh? You got your football outfit on? You got Bulldogs on. But no, Score, it's been a lot of fun. And since COVID, I mean, you two guys and everybody else in the studio has seen how much we've grown.
Certainly. I want to ask you this, IJ. In terms of your mind, you are an innovator. You're always coming up with the next great idea. You came up with Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. You found a way to stream all these great games in high school sports on TV, on Preacher Sports Network. Now you have your Score Atlanta High School Football Award. So what is next as you continue to kind of build the branding, continue innovating?
Well, I'll tell you what, we saw some really neat things yesterday in Philadelphia, what ESPN's doing. And I would love to do a game day for high schools. I mean, I think that would be a lot of fun where we went out to high schools and, you know, started early. And what'd you say? And started early and had a panel with you and Craig and others on to pick games, to talk about all the high school games. The other thing that we are going to be doing, which I'm really, really excited about, is we will be doing a post-Friday night game scoreboard show that Craig's going to be doing in the studio. We'll use this big screen here similar to the way Paul Feinbaum does for ESPN. So we'll have different callers and we'll talk about scores. So we'll probably go for about another 60 minutes, which I think will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love it. And then what's kind of coming up next as we continue to work far as
we've got Corky Kell girls. I mean, we are heavy into flag football. I mean, I really think in 4 or 5 years at Division I colleges, you're going to see flag football, and you're going to see how big this is. And I wish my girls could have played flag because I think it's just such a great all-around sport. Uh-oh. But that's that's coming up. Obviously, we've got all our games on Friday night. But everybody tune in Sunday night because I know that this is going to be on national TV, and it's something that we are doing very special. I have to give a shout out to Damon Grieve, who is one of our team members who is sort of on the construction and printing side for us. But what we're doing in MBS this week and will be unveiled on Sunday night against the Chiefs, I think is really, really cool.
And again, make sure you guys tune in. That is going to be NBC 11 Alive. So make sure you guys tune in for that so you guys can see the unveil that IJ has coming up. And now we're going to present the cake.
Got you a cake.
That's awesome. Thanks, Grace. Now, it was a lot of fun birthday. You know, I'm a sports guy, and, you know, the opportunity to spend with my wife in Philly and some friends yesterday. You know, typically we go to a couple games. Last year we went to the Falcons game against Jacksonville in London. That didn't turn out very well. But, of course, last night did, and was a lot of fun.
Before we let you get out of here, IJ, I do want to ask, what has been your favorite game that you ever either been to or seen?
Oh, by far, easily. 1992. Okay, I'm going to let it go for a second. 1992, It had to be Game 7. I was the beat writer for the Braves.
60
And
seconds.
they were beaten. I mean, Pittsburgh had them beaten. And they came back. And, of course, Francisco Cabrera, who was still a friend of mine, comes up with the big hit. And, of course, Sid Breen comes lumbering around third base. And what was interesting for me is I had no time to take it in, all right, because I was the beat guy. So I had to, I had already written that they had lost because you start writing early on deadline and stuff, and I had to totally shift. And I think of all the big moments in Atlanta history, Braves win, Skip Carey, Braves win, Braves win. I still think that is, even over the World Series win in 1995, and the World Series win a couple years ago that the Braves had, and some of the things the Falcons and Hawks and other sports have done, I still think that moment is the biggest one.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Atlanta in the 90s. That was a pretty fun time.
Certainly. Well, guys, we want to say thanks so much for tuning in. A special shout out to IJ, innovator, great mind, special human. We appreciate him so much for allowing us to do this show. Tomorrow we have coming up our rankings report for softball, more news, and also our middle school spotlight. We will see you guys tomorrow, and happy birthday, IJ.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
birthday.
Thanks, everybody.
Basic combat training is a 10-week experience that will challenge you both physically and mentally. Each phase of your training will introduce you to new soldier skills, building and advancing them along the way. You and your fellow soldiers will work as a team to accomplish each mission, overcome each obstacle, and earn the right to wear the black beret of an Army National Guard soldier.
90 seconds.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know, just take it off. Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely.
60
Learn
seconds,
about
about
careers in
60
construction
seconds.
at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Beginning the morning you opened your eyes, we spent every waking moment preparing you for the day in the earnings. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for, what am I going to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Level 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply a job, it's a career. Visit IBEW613